Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. I should be playing Mario Maker right now. I love Isaac, don't get me wrong. I love Mario Maker, don't get me wrong. Dude, our stats are good. I don't want to reroll until I know what's going on. 49 SW H1BT. Unfortunately, there's maintenance on the Mario Maker servers right now. I get it, don't get me wrong. I understand, you know, you gotta push updates. I have no idea what the maintenance is for, but I appreciate it either way. I just, you know, selfishly wish it wasn't happening during the time when I'd really like to knock out a Mario Maker episode, but anyway, that's okay. Important thing is doing something. Well, the important thing is keeping the dubs going here in Isaac. We're having a great time with it. Things have been going very, very well. Love having the fly to back us up here. Sorry, I haven't been talking as much because I've been relying on Egg Cam to tell some jokes for me with my facial expression. Then I remembered, hey dummy, you don't have Egg Cam on in Isaac. So why am I mugging for the camera at all opportunities? You know what I mean? He's free. Alrighty. So far, so good. Nothing is ever going to stand in my way again in Isaac. You know, we made it through the last run. It was of modest touchiness at worst. And once we got the D100, it started to pop like crazy. But you know what? In a spirit of solidarity, I feel like the D8 is kind of like the D100 or the D Infinity. You do want to roll until you don't. And honestly, having good stats and then rolling most of your relevant stats to be even better, I knew it was likely to happen. That's probably where we'll call it for now. Man, all we needed to do was get one room deeper. Yikes. Turns out this was actually the wrong floor for us to have very low speed. That's okay. That one was 100% on me. We still, you know, the good news, I suppose, is that there's nothing we can do to really, like, lower our odds of getting a deal with the devil as long as we don't get hit on the boss fight itself. So I'm not sweating too hard just yet. Luckily, we do have the HP required to come in here. Dude, 5 extra bombs. Let's not risk anything then. I will place a bomb right here and get teleported to the deal with the... Oh, get Guppy's head. Dude, I know some people are going to be like, man, it sucks that you got rid of D8 that early. We use D8, which I will say is probably more than a lot of people would have done in our position. We're not going to touch that. And just using D8 could have put us in a spiral, the likes of which we would never recover from. So getting an actually great offensive spacebar item, like, I have no guilt whatsoever. Plus, it's kind of like, you know, I've been playing this friggin' game for so long. I'm not apologizing for my actions in Isaac, you know? I'm forgiving myself for my actions in Isaac. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. This would be a great deal with the devil opportunity. Fair. Frustrating, but fair. I think I will just pop it because I want to take the world card with me. Okay, this run is good, and I mean good in an entertainment sense. It's struck somewhere between, you know, success and failure right now. It's uncertain. We haven't had that many uncertain runs lately. Regardless, it's Monday night. How y'all doing? Busy day of recording today. Like, really, one of those days. Some days. And I never want to act like... Here's the thing. I've been very fortunate to, for whatever reason, always remember that, you know, the position I hold in life right now is very... is where I want to be. I'm very fortunate to be there, if that makes sense. Not only, you know, do I make a good living, but on top of that, my duties, you know, occupationally speaking, are easy and fun for the most part. And, you know, beyond that... Yeah, we'll definitely take this. Beyond that, sure, sometimes community is a frustrating aspect of things. I guess you'd rather have Ansus. But, you know, although the frustrating parts of community are frustrating, you know, like people diagnosing relationships that you have with your friends, even though you've known them for 15 years, and people diagnosing them don't know you at all. There's no doubt about it, the fact that I do get a staggering amount of messages. I don't mean staggering in the sense that there's thousands, but I mean staggering in the sense that they exist at all, that are like, hey, you know, you're awesome, you're the funniest person in the world, also so handsome, like, oh my god. And I'm like, Mom, where'd you get this number? I think I've used that exact joke before. Could really use a speed upgrade now. If not having the D8 to roll for a speed upgrade ends up being what ends this run, it is what it is. I'll go down with the ship like that Dido song. So I've never lost sight of that. There are negative things about the job for sure, but I've never lost sight of the fact that, you know, when I was working, you know, god-awful, crazy long days in Korea, and then coming home, I mean, I was a teacher, I wasn't fighting in a war or something, but, and then coming home and recording YouTube videos on top of that, this is where I wanted to be. So I haven't forgotten the fact that I'm here. But there's some days where, like, the videos, it's like you're recording in molasses. You can't get the conversation started, or at least, like, you feel like you can't get the banter started that well. There's, like, you know, the bits aren't seamless. You're not playing your games very well either. This has been, like, the exact opposite. Like, every video I've recorded today has been a joy to record. If you could capture this sort of lightning in a bottle, you would sell it and be a billionaire. Selling that good day juice. Good day juice does not exist yet. I don't think alcohol counts because of the fact that it means your next day is not as good. Okay, let's do the grown-up decision here, which is definitely to actually just do this. And I'm sorry to Guppy's head, but if we're being honest, we're in a really good spot. We did hit our item room on this floor, and it's not an XL floor. Okay, so we're good to go. Now we're in an extremely great position. Although when we use the nail, our speed will be very low. So let's pop this. Yeah, it's just been like a nice. Oh, that hurt. We're still fragile here, but in a few rooms we should start to pop. It's just been a good day, honestly. I've been thinking. Okay, let's not die right now. Took me a second to recognize that I got hit due to my own stupidity. Any other married men out there in the same boat as me? Where, like, oh geez, be careful. That was so scary. I think if the boss hit us, we would have died. If the worm hit us, we're fine. But if the boss hit us, I think we would have been iced. Wow, that's embarrassing. Okay, let's get back to the bit. Any other married men in the same boat as me where, you know, there's all this hack journalism that's like, the average guy thinks about a naked lady once every 6 seconds or something like that. I'm not the average guy, apparently. I know it's supposed to be, you know, it's like a subconscious thing. By the way, this is not where I wanted to go with this bit. This is just a segue into it. I apologize for my inappropriateness. And I'm like, once every 6 seconds is absurd, dude. That doesn't make any sense. You know what does occupy like 25% of my daily mental thought, though? Is like, what are we gonna have for dinner? Oh, dude, that was a really lucky hit there, to be honest. You know what? Why don't we just get this? Yeah, much smarter idea. We don't have like, you know, one of those like whiteboards that has like a meal menu or something like that. We don't do like Taco Tuesday or anything like that. We do sometimes at the grocery store. We'll go like, hey, tomorrow, do you want to have, you know, soft shell tacos? And then Kate will go, yeah. And then I'll buy soft shell taco stuff and we'll have that tomorrow. But most of the time, what we're having for dinner ends up being like a runtime decision. I go talk to Kate around, you know, 8, 9 p.m. We're late eaters. And I go, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? We work it out from there. That's the boat that I'm in right now. I was talking about it with Kate and I was like, man, I really spend not 25% of my day. That's absurd. I mean, if I'm awake for like 16 hours, that means I spend 4 hours occupied with what I'm going to have for dinner. I probably only spend 3.5 hours occupied with what I'm gonna have for dinner. But I'm a dinner-focused guy, you know? I got in the routine when I was in high school, you know? When I got home from school, I'd be like, hey, Mom, what's for dinner? Because as a kid, you don't get to determine your meal choices at all. Well, much, at least. So you're kind of at the mercy, you know? I'm sure I'm speaking to the converted out there. You're preaching to the choir. That, like, you know, you had, like, a power ranking, right? For what was getting cooked for dinner. When I lived with my parents and grandparents, and my grandparents did the cooking, man, I'll tell you. #1 meal was they got like these breaded chicken breasts from the frozen food aisle, cooked those, and then we had like, you know, breaded chicken sandwiches, and probably like McCain frozen French fries. Give me a break on the non-sophisticated palate. I was 10. Also, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Also, give me a break. Because I've told you, this is the same woman who predominantly, for sides, cooked canned round potatoes and canned baby corn. So, like, I wasn't really working with, like, necessarily a great set of tools here, you know? It was like #1, breaded chicken sandwiches. #2, my grandfather is an avid fisherman. Sometimes he'd have a good day down at the lake. My dad would fillet the fish. We'd have like a beer-battered fish and chips. Except the reason that's #2, because it sounds fantastic, and I would kill for that meal now. I can still taste it in my mind's eye right now. The reason that became #2 is one summer he went fishing like 5 times a week, and he caught he probably overfished, to be honest. But he caught so many fish, we ended up having fish and chips for dinner, like 4 out of 7 nights for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And I gotta tell you, I know I said I'm not a person who cares that much about food variety. This is the one exception. I literally threw up one night just because I was so sick of eating fish and chips. I don't know. It might be one of those things where, like, maybe it was a bad batch and it actually made me ill, and then for a while it became associated with, you know, nausea, so I was like, I don't ever want to eat it again. But we hit overkill status once, for sure. Now, I'm happy to report, I still love fish and chips, dude. I don't order it that much because, I mean, it's, like, pretty bad for you. And it's fine, you know, you can enjoy life as well, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I'm trying to get cut up like Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder, so... You know, it's all more about the pineapple right now than the beer-battered smallmouth bass. Anyway. And then #3 was like, you know, ham. And even then, you know, as soon as you say ham's #3, you get a little sense of what you're working with. You know, no offense to my grandmother, but, you know, after that, it was like some nights it would be like roast beef. And it was like the driest. And this is why I'm a culinary kindred spirit with many of you. You know, people are like, I don't like roast beef. You should hold off on your opinion until you maybe have like a roast beef from like a restaurant. I know it's not going to be a high priority order for you because of the fact that you say you don't like it, but I was also under the impression, I was like, I don't understand why people like roast beef. It's like eating dark sand. It gets stuck in your teeth, and if you're like 12 and something's getting stuck in your teeth, something's wrong with the food. You know, at 30, things get stuck in my teeth now and then. I think it's just my parents always told me it's part of growing older, like your gums start to recess, and even if you have, you know, good dental care, you know, it's kind of the ravages of age. That old Simpsons joke from when they go into the haunted house. Behold, the ravages of age! Anyway. Things get stuck in my teeth now and then. But if things get stuck in your teeth, you know, when you're 12, and you've got, you know, the classic 12-year-old dental care, which is basically, you know, maybe not having the best oral hygiene habits, but also literally having, like, a mint condition human body for the most part. It's like, you know, nothing can hurt you. This is why, you know, teenagers think they're invincible. Everyone's like, you know, when you're a teenager, you're not invincible. Yeah, you're not, but you're way more durable than your average, like, 50-year-old, let's be honest. You ever, like, fall down as an adult? It'll mess you up for, like, a couple days. I'm not saying you're gonna break a hip until you're, like, much older, obviously, but, you know, falling down as a kid, Let me put it this way. You ever be around, like, adults when a kid falls down? All the adults with kids are completely unfazed. They're just like, yeah, they do that. All the adults without kids are like, oh my god, are they okay? And that's because they've fallen down as adults. The parents who have kids, which I guess is a little bit of an oxymoron, or doesn't need to be said. What's the redundancy? The parents who have kids, they know, you know, a kid falls down, it smashes his head on the corner of an oak coffee table, something that would, you know, it would kill an adult. The kid just gets up and goes, and you're like, maybe they're gonna cry, and then they just go, and they run away. Like, it's weird. You know, you're not as durable as you get older. But anyway, this is beside the point of what I was trying to get to earlier. We'll give it a little shot here. What a terrible sound. Roast beef was, you know, really bad roast beef was a typical meal. Hot dogs, but like boiled hot dogs is low priority, you know? But what I was gonna say is it's the same thing, roast beef and turkey. If your opinion is that roast beef and turkey are both bad because they're dry, hold that opinion until you move out and sample a turkey that's been brined and cooked properly. And hold that opinion until you've had a great roast beef. I promise you they do exist. Don't hold it against the entire meal just because of, you know, one bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, babe. You know what I mean? This run is very interesting. We're in we're fast, obviously, but we did have an XL floor. We did have some Onsus as well, so I wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, I have power rankings now, too. But mostly, you know, I talked about this with Kate on her, or on our, I guess, Stardew Valley stream. But I was like, have you ever heard me complain about food? And she's like, nah, not really. Doesn't happen that often. You know, I'm repeating myself from a bit that I did probably like 2 years ago at this point, but I'm still, honestly, just like happy to be in a restaurant. And I'm happy to just be eating at home. You know, the worst meals that I have, I'm like, maybe once a year, at most, I'll have a meal where everything goes wrong, and I'm like, I would rather not be eating than be eating this. Every other time, even if the meal's like a 2 out of 10, I'm like, well, it's not very good. You know, Kate will be like, oh, do you want to just like, you know, stop eating and we'll go home? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm still eating. When I say a 2 out of 10, compared to the baseline of life, that's like a 5. I can live with it. You know, the food on food standards is not that good. But the act of eating, oh, it still brings me a great amount of joy. But we eat well at home as well. I'm very happy that, you know, I've been watching a lot of Queer Eye, and there's a lot of people out there, and this might describe you, who they literally, like, don't know how to cook. Which is a little sad, honest. I don't mean sad as in pathetic. I mean sad as in, like, I'm empathetic. You know, it's not that hard, obviously, because I can do it. But I'm thankful that, like, both my wife and I, you know, have a background of, like, a hobbyist cooking. Some nights, you know, Kate will be like, I don't really want to cook. It's not like, oh, I guess we have to get McDonald's then. You know, I'm like, okay, that's not a big deal. I'll cook something. We should check here. Oh. Definitely. It's one of those situations where I think it's definitely worth taking Void as well, because it's basically just strictly better in most circumstances than the nail, because we get the nail every time we use it, in case that wasn't abundantly clear. I think it was probably clear. It's a good skill. I know I've been harping on it now. I really like it. You know, if you're an adult, it's so easy to learn how to cook enough to, like, not have to eat gas station sandwiches for every meal. I'm begging you. Now, a gas station sandwich, it has its place, okay? You're on a road trip. or maybe you're going camping or something like that, and you're like, hey, we can stop off and get a few sandwiches, keep them in the cooler, we can have them for, you know, lunch or snacks later or something like that. But, you know, there's this episode in the new season of Queer Eye where the guy's like, I just buy these sandwiches at the gas station, and I keep them in the fridge and warm them up when I'm ready to eat. And all of the guys are like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, oh, really? And I was like, you know, watching along at home, I was like, yeah, man, I'm not judging you. Like, you're like 65 years old, you know, you've seen stuff I can't even imagine, I'm sure. You know, you probably had, like, you know, tragedy and joy and sorrow and victory and defeat and et cetera, and more in your life. But also, I'm like, come on, man. Have some self-respect. If I went to, you know, let's say my mom wasn't around and I went to my dad's house, he was eating warmed up gas station sandwiches, he's coming to live with us for a bit. I guess I should run that by my wife first, but you get the idea. That's like, it's too much. I mean, also, it is fair to note, I guess, that if you're like, you know, in your 60s, you also grew up in a different era, maybe, where I'm not going to say that it wasn't socially acceptable for a man to learn how to cook, because I don't believe that that's true, but, you know, you probably, if there was a home ec class or something like that, you weren't, you know, necessarily likely to go into it. You're in auto shop class and your girl's in home ec class, you know? I'm not saying it's the way it should be. It's just weird how, like, you know, I mean, I don't think cooking is stigmatized like this anymore at all. But when I think of, like, the gender norms of cooking, it's like, no. Women cook. Men don't cook. Men grill. I have no idea how, I mean, I guess these are things that come in the, you know, to be attitudes in the culture gradually over many, many years. But I'm like, man, how on earth did grilling become masculine, but somehow, like, frying something in a pan is not masculine? It's the same process. It's just the heat plus surface plus meat. I like, actually don't get it. Anyway. I know that's not a controversial subject. I'm preaching to the choir on that one. I'm just saying. If you're out there and I know I talked about this exact same thing last episode. Keep in mind, for me, last episode was like 8.5 hours ago. It's been a while, but it apparently has been on my mind. Or at least we went there. Again, just now. But if you're watching this, you're a dude, you feel like I'd like to learn how to cook, but I don't want to appear feminine. That's real lame. Allow me to be the man who frees you from the shackles of, you know, thinking that you still exist in the year 1941. Which actually is not even fair, because in 1941, you know, I don't know if you know this, but there's a war going on. Women were working in the foundries and the factories. If there's any time to flip the script, it would have been 1941. I don't know where I'm going with this. Bail me out. Anyway, I'm not going to do the exact same discourse that we did last episode. It's too much. I will say, maybe there's some people, you know, because if you watch Queer Eye, there's 5 disciplines, you know? Food, fashion, your hair and grooming, interior decoration, and then, like, I don't know, what would you say Karamo does? He's a mental health, culture, psychology, blah, blah, blah. You know? Let's be honest. Food, I don't need a makeover. I would love to spend the day making hors d'oeuvres with Anthony, but it's selfish of me. Somebody else could use that more. Hair and grooming, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I don't think I would make a good subject for the show in that department, because, I mean, what can you do, you know? I'm bald. I could grow, like, a mustache or something, but that's not, usually they're going up to some dude and he's got, like, a big Grizzly Adams beard, you know? And then Jonathan's like, I'm gonna shave this a little bit. And you're like, oh, he looks better, you know? It's pretty much the whole show. Personal, like, mental health, relatively under control, you know? I gotta live a pretty healthy life. I got healthy habits. I get outside. I got positive attitudes, you know, good social connections, a fulfilling career, you know, good home life, you know? So I think I'm love to hang out with Karamo as well. I'm sure he would open up some, you know, deep veins of introspection that would lead to some great on-camera tears. But again, for the most part, I'm not saying everybody couldn't use it, but it wouldn't necessarily be a high priority. My episode of Queer Eye would definitely be fashion and interior design. Fashion, like, I wouldn't say I get it, but I sort of get what you're going for with fashion. But I'm just like, because I work from home, I wear a lot of t-shirts, you know. I mean, that's basically it. It's not like I've never heard of a suit where I've been rocking the same shirt since 1976 or something like that. And then interior design, I gotta be honest with you. You could focus the whole episode of me on that. The place, you know, that Kate and I live looks really nice, but it looks really nice because she decorated it. Any place where I've lived alone in my entire life looks like a serial killer's apartment. I lived alone in Korea. I bought one piece of furniture slash decoration slash appliance. It was a Brita water filter, and that's it. The rest of the year, I bought literally nothing. The person who lived in the apartment before me, I mean, there was a bed, thankfully. It was a one-room, like, studio apartment, to be fair, but the person who lived in it before me left me a table and a chair, and that was it. And a toaster, It was me, a table, a chair, a bed, and a toaster, and my Brita water filter. Now, I do need to say, although it compromises the bit, it's honest, I did also buy a fan in the summertime because it was very hot. And that's it, you know? That was my interior decorating. In college, my room was also it had decorations that college students have, i.e. it had two posters. One poster was for the Flaming Lips 2003 album Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. I would have preferred to have gotten a soft bulletin poster, but the record store didn't have one. Now I just had to deal with the fact that everybody who came to my dorm room, which was nobody, was gonna think, oh, this guy's only into the mainstream Flaming Lips stuff. Not true. I'm into the weirdo stuff too, okay? The other poster was for NWA's landmark 1990 album, F the Police, thus demonstrating my eclectic taste in music. And also a little bit of a tone-deaf idea of my sense of self, perhaps. Because I do F the police. I friend the police. I facilitate the police in doing their jobs by not breaking any laws. That's not to say that, you know, I'm ignorant to the issues surrounding the police right now. Just because I personally am unaffected by them, it would be selfish to say that, you know, it's not affecting other people and it as a result is invalid. I'm just saying, you know. For the most part, I am still one of those guys who's like, hello, officer. I will say, I saw an article about a promotion they're doing in Arizona. To reward good drivers, officers are pulling good drivers over to say thank you for following traffic laws and then giving them a gift card for a free drink at a local convenience store. And the comments are what you'd expect. The news article goes, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Literally everybody is like, stop this, you idiots. And I'm like, stop this, you idiots. It's, why on earth would you stop, you pull somebody over, you're gonna turn on your flashing lights, scare the crap out of them. This is a wild one, dude. I feel like Libra gets absolutely horrible when you have Ipecac as well. I think you got low damage and low rate of fire. So I think we'll take this and then suck both of those up. But you're basically actually punishing good drivers. Because we all, and I don't know, I said we as if you would just assume that I'm part of the good driver committee. But I've never even been pulled over in my whole life. So I'm either a good driver or I'm very good at only making actionable mistakes when the police aren't looking. Which I think is the best you can aspire to. Either way. Where was I going with this? Oh, you're already rewarded for being a good driver. And the reward is getting to where you want to go safely and probably on time and not being pulled over by the police as you go. I don't drive to my office, obviously. My office is... It would be a little bit overkill considering it's about 22 feet from my bed. Yo, careful. But if I did, and I was going to work, and I got pulled over so that a police officer could give me a soda that's like a $1.50 value, I don't know what I would do. I would tell you I would be upset. I might even, and this is sincere, because, you know, being inconvenienced, that's kind of like the only thing that I will get in somebody's face over. I don't get in their face, I guess, but, you know, I'll start to ask some snippy rhetorical questions, like, you know, hey, here's my hourly wage, and the drink that you gave me that I don't even want costs this much, and just by pulling you over, you cost me 10 minutes, so... You know, where can I send the invoice to? And it might seem like kind of an a-hole way to respond to this, but I gotta tell you, if you're, you know, super into the idea of getting a free soda because you're following traffic laws, you might be 10 years old, which is an ad hominem attack on a straw man. It's two linked logical fallacies, but, I'm being 100% real with you. You know, like being a safe driver, you already get another reward, and you should get more of it, in my opinion, which is lower car insurance rates than people who drive recklessly and unsafely. I don't care about the soda, dude. You know, my car insurance is like, I don't know, $280 a month or something like that. It's insane here. How about you give me a gift certificate for a free month of car insurance because I've demonstrated that I'm a good driver. Anyway, apparently they're just doing it to get around probable cause so they can actually maybe pull you over and be like, hey, you're a good driver. But also, what's that smell? Can I search your car? Sir, you're under arrest. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what happened, you know? I don't know. I don't live in Arizona. I'll leave that up to your judgment. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!